Hello and welcome back to the channel of Forward Nonsense, and a car that's a bit like your single uncle, you know, the one who looks younger every year somehow and has an inexplicably good knowledge of secluded laybys. Yes, it is the facelifted Kia EV6. It's been a massively popular electric car for Kia. It's been to Turkey now, it's got a new face, it's got some new teeth, and it can go for even longer out in the countryside. Let's find out if it's any good. Yeah, the EV6 has been around for kind of 4 years now. I first drove it actually very close to where I am now in Chippenham as a prototype, and it kind of made me smile because it was an affordable EV-ish. It was expensive for a Kia, but it was about 45 grand, but it could fast charge. It was one of the first cars that could really rapidly charge with its 800 volt architecture, thanks to the amusingly named eGimp platform. This is still on eGimp, so I'll be saying that as much as I can. But yeah, now starts from £45,500 for an entry-level Air model in rear-wheel drive form. And then there's a GT Line S, which is top spec, which is 53 grand. But if you add 3.5 grand, you get dual motors, making this one the very expensive 57 grand all-wheel drive GT Line S. But yeah, it's got a new battery, it's got an updated interior, it's got tweaked looks. Let's have a look at it and say GIMP lots. Right, let's talk quickly about the new looks, because as they say, the GIMP is in the details, and it's got new headlights with daytime running lights stretching all the way across the front of the grille. Yeah, it succumbed to the light bar trend, but I don't mind. Now, being a GT Line S, you get slightly sportier looks than the entry-level Air models. You also get big alloys, 20-inch ones on this one. You only get 19 inches on the Air model. But yeah, I think it looks quite nice in this runway red. This is actually the free colour. And although it's a very, very grey day with flooding in the fields, it does look quite interesting. It looks quite nice still. I think the design has held up maybe a bit better than its sister car, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, which I think might start looking a bit dated soon. But anyway, let's talk about the electricity stuff while I try not to walk in this. There is a new battery, as I've said. It's got an 84 kilowatt hour battery, no matter which model you pick. So that is 8.5% bigger than the biggest battery you used to be able to get. And that gives you, if you get the rear wheel drive one in air trim, 361 miles. It's only got 225 horsepower, the Air, but I'm sure it still will be absolutely fine for daily driving. This has got 320 horsepower and can only do 339 miles. But, you know, as is usual, reality is a different kettle of fish. And if I kind of click away some of the stuff on the infotainment screen, you can see this one's getting 282 miles on 95% of battery. Now, you join me at the red flap of power to talk about the other electricity stuff that Kia's updated on the facelift. So, as well as giving it a bigger battery, they've made it charge ever so slightly faster, up to 258 kilowatts, which is very fast. Oh, the flap shut. Why is the flap shut? Anyway, phantom flaps aside, you can now get from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes. And if you plug it in for 15 minutes at a low state of charge, you can add 215 miles in a quarter of an hour, which seems pretty good. Now, what isn't so good, apart from the temperamental flap issue, is that you only get a heat pump as an option on the top spec GT Line S models. I don't think you can get it at all lower down the range, which is a bit rubbish when you're selling an EV in the UK with quite cold winters. You're going to lose a lot of range unless you get that heat pump, so you have to fork out for a 53 grand one to get it as an option, and it's like 750 quid or something. That is a little bit mean. Or I've got my facts wrong, whatever. Now, just like when you got your hemorrhoids fixed, it's inside where you'll feel most of the differences of this facelifted EV6. So there are redesigned bits and bobs here and some new bits of technology. Hopefully you didn't get that when you fix your hemorrhoids, but anyway, unless you've got superpowers. But anyway, you get a 3-spoke steering wheel on GT Line S models, you get a 2-spoke one on Air models, and that's redesigned. You've got a drive mode button in the middle there. But joy of joys, if you hold down this volume button here, it will mute things first, but if you hold it down for about 3 seconds, it mutes the speed limit warning bong, so you don't have to go through any menus to do that. Kia has cottoned on to what the public really want, which is great news. Yeah, it feels quite luxurious in here. Obviously, being a top spec model, you would hope so. You've got a GT Line badge over there. The killer new update for me, really, is we've finally got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in a Kia. I think that first came in the Sorento or something like that. But yeah, this is redesigned down here. You've got physical buttons for your heated and cooled seats and also your heated steering wheel. You've got your gear selector there. It's, yeah, they've pared back the buttons a bit, really. It's quite good because you've still got your physical climate control panel there that we first saw in the Sportage, I think. I'm still not a massive fan of the fact you can press this to kind of change the functions, but whatever, because you might be driving along here thinking you're going to adjust the temperature, but actually you're in radio mode and you change tracks if you're an idiot like me. The wireless charging for your phone is now 15 watts. That's a bit faster. You've got a big old storage cubby there. And I should point out, there is a sunroof as standard on GT Line S models. You're not going to see it because it's darker than the inside of Darth Vader's ball bag, but yeah, it's only at the front though. There's no sunroof in the back, so that is a little bit rubbish, a little bit mean. GT Line S, like this one, gets a 14-speaker Meridian sound system. It is fat, it is amazing, I love it. All the others get a 6-speaker sound system. But there we go, that's the inside of the new EV6. Rear passenger space is slightly hard to show you, sorry, because I forgot my tripod, but it's okay. It's not as good as an Ioniq 5 back here, though. Headroom for me is, yeah, if I lean all the way back, my big bald head hits the roof. So actually, I don't quite fit back here. I have got loads of knee room, but if you look down there, my feet just don't fit under the driver's seat. And admittedly, that is slammed all the way down, but that's how I drive. So if you drive like that, your rear passengers, if they've got big feet, won't be able to get them under there. But it's okay, it's a flat floor, but it's just a weird bend in my knee because the floor is reasonably high because of the battery packs. But yeah, I've got USBs on the side of the seats here. And yeah, that's about it really. And you've got ISOFIX points, which are just easy to get to down there. Big armrest with some cup holders, which you can also just have as a storage tray. Yeah, it's okay. It's sort of roomy, sort of not. It has got a low roof, this, because it's a svelte looking coupe. That just kind of hits my head and is a little bit annoying. But if you've got kids who aren't 6'3" like me, it's probably going to be okay. Let's check out the rest of it. Actually, before we do that, I should point out you do get heated rear seats in GT Line S models. Woohoo! Only the outer ones though, your middle seat passenger, they have to freeze their nads off. But I don't know of a car with a heated middle seat. If you do, go down to the comments and tell me how to do my job better. It's not hard, to be honest. Ugh, I think I'm going to get dengue fever. But anyway, let's talk about the back end of the EV6 while I make it a bit brighter for you. I don't think there's much difference around the back, to be honest. There's slightly sharper light signatures, I think. But otherwise, it's still got that classic hooping light bar across the back. Now, you do get all-round sensors and a reversing camera on all models, and you do get a boot on all models, which is handy, but you have to get your hands mucky by pressing down there. I'm going to start a campaign to move boot buttons higher up so you don't get filthy fingers. But anyway, big boot, 490 litres. It's all right for family duties, but an Ioniq 5 again is bigger, 520 litres. And if you want an electric car in this kind of price point with an even bigger boot, the Skoda Enyaq is 600 and something litres. So this is not the biggest these days, and the opening is a little bit narrow. It widens up inside a bit. You've got a little bit of storage under the boot floor for cables and whatever's in here. The hole. Oh, it's got some sound deadening. I thought it was a tenor gentleman pad or something, but no, anyway, that's probably sound deadening. Yeah, you have got vehicle to load on most models, so you get an adapter you can plug in with a 3-pin socket on it, so you can charge things off your car if you're camping or things like that. But that is all right, and it is quite a high load point up here, but obviously you can see the slope. You're not going to be able to jam big suitcases all the way to the end of the boot because it's stylish and stuff. Right, I'm about to hop in this and go for a drive and tell you what it's like to drive, because there's some suspension tweaking as well. But I forgot to mention, it's 4.7 metres long, so yeah, it's about average for this size of EV, really. It's kind of like a slightly bigger Volkswagen Tiguan, if you want to think about it like that. Now, they have apparently reinforced the B-pillars there. They've made them thicker and a bit wider. I guess that's to improve its crash protection-ness, but I've not really noticed it. But anyway, let's hop behind the wheel and drive it. To McDonald's. Right, we're going to go for a drive in the updated EV6 GT Line S all-wheel drive. I've got 320 horsepower. This one's actually quite quick. It'll do 0 to 62 in 5.4 seconds. The rear-wheel drive is a bit slower, 7.7 seconds to 60. I'm going to drive that in a minute as well, just as a way of comparison. But there have been some updates to this car. It is bonging like crazy, so hang on, I need to turn the bongs off. This is just part of my job now, learning how to turn everything off and on. It's super annoying. No, hang on, there we go. Right, so yes, this is quick. It's also more refined though, because Kia's updated the frequency selective dampers, aka the suspension, to give it a better ride on broken roads, aka the entirety of our country. And do you know what? It does feel I would say, noticeably less jiggly over bumpy roads. It feels less crashy over bumps. It doesn't feel like a big, heavy EV, actually. The steering is nice and light as well, so it's just easy to drive. The view out, yeah, you've got the usual whinge about the back corners, which are kind of, yes, more shuttered than my childhood, but it's all right. It is just an easy car drive. It doesn't feel too big or anything like that. But really, yeah, it does ride better. Even on these big 20-inch wheels, this is a pretty rubbish bit of road. And it's all right. I'm not jiggling. My moves aren't jiggling. I'm not even really noticing the road surface. Now, there's another improvement to refinement, and that is the rear motor has got more sound deadening on it to reduce the whine you hear in the cabin. And look, I'm going to come to a stop. Actually, I'm going to put it in sport mode using the button on the steering wheel. I'm just going to hoof it. Yeah, it's making my stomach go a bit funny. That's 50, that's 60. So yeah, it is quick, but there is noticeably less motor whine as well. It's not making any kind of electrical noises. There's a bit from the front motor in this one, but this is genuinely one of the more refined EVs to drive now though. I would say it's not quite up there with the BMW iX, but that costs another £30,000 and has looks only a German mother could love with a horsewhip. But yeah, it's good. It's not necessarily going to be sporty. It's not like an Ioniq 5N or anything like that. It's just a cruiser, a real world car for real world driving. Now, as usual, we've got things like the paddles, which you can use to put it into a one pedal driving mode. That is the same as before. I always leave it in max regen because I like playing games and stopping at traffic lights, not knocking off Dutch motorcyclists who are paying no attention. Sorry. Why are you bonging? It's just always bonging though. It's every modern car from the Hyundai Kia group. I've got the new Santa Fe from Hyundai at the moment, and they just won't stop bonging, even when you've turned all the stuff off. But anyway, yeah, twisty 60 limit road in the wet. This absolutely bosses it. Great. It's not giving me any confidence through the steering wheel, but no modern car does. All-wheel drive EV6, down here, a little bit of movement over that wet manhole cover. It's fast, it's furious. And I should point out, on efficiency, I've only done not loads of miles in this, so I'll just look at the long-term average. This one's been averaging 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour, which is not great. But it's average, really. But it does mean you're getting a real-world range of more like 270 rather than the claimed 320. Let's do the rear-wheel drive one. Bing, there's a junction. Bing, there might be a hedgehog over there. Bing, don't run over the postman. Bing, there's a tractor. Bing, there's a vole. Bing is actually just an annoying kids' TV character that should be fired into space and never come back. We're in a grey rear-wheel drive EV6 now, still GT Line S, so this one's about 52 grand, but just wanted to kind of see how it compares in terms of speed and range. So this one's got 98% battery and it's saying 306 miles, so that's about 20 miles more than the all-wheel drive was giving me. So that's just see how hard this one's been driven. Yes, again, this is averaging 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. So that's actually the same as that all-wheel drive had been averaging over its lifetime, but these probably haven't been driven especially gently, shall we say. Right, forgot to turn the bongs off. Let's turn the bongs off. There we go. Right, electrically adjustable steering column. Come to my rescue, please. And I was just having a chat with a chap from Kia, asking about the heat pump and about whether it was an option on the previous pre-facelift EV6, and he said that it was an option across the range, not on top spec only like it is now. And he said that barely anyone took it. So here's a motoring journalist like me wanting a heat pump for when it gets really cold, but apparently you only really get the benefits if you live in Scandinavia. But apparently no one actually optioned it, which is why they've only put it on the top spec one. And Kia does, to give them their credit, normally do what people want because they make more money that way. But anyway, this feels noticeably less punchy in the mid-range. When you put your foot down, you're doing 50 miles an hour. It doesn't force you back into your seat. Let's do a teensy little launch. Ooh, ABS, hello. Oh, got my hazards on. Let's turn them off. Yeah, it's way slower off the line, but that's still 60 from pretty much a standstill. So in real-world driving, you don't need the all-wheel drive. I could probably have guessed that anyway. But if you like impressive electric acceleration, maybe find the extra 3.5 grand. But if you do want more efficiency and absolutely plenty of real-world torque and power, go for the rear-wheel drive. Let's send it down here. Yeah, Doesn't feel like it's going to skid from the rear or anything like that. Just feels, again, comfortable and quite relaxing to drive. What's not to like? Save your £3,500 if you're a normal person, get a bit more range, and still have a really good EV. I haven't mentioned actually that you've got 2 USB-Cs down there. You've got a big flat floor in the front as well. This center console kind of finishes and disappears. So you've got trays down there, you've got 12 volts, got loads of storage. Yeah, it's a really impressive car still. I remember being blown away by this when it first came out because it was an interior like no others in terms of practicality. And apart from rear seat headroom, this still delivers. But anyway, that sounds like a conclusion. Let's go back to me properly for an actual conclusion. Right, I've dumped the rear-wheel drive one in this muddy puddle of justice as well, just to keep things fair with the red one I had at the start of this video. And to sum up, the refinements, the improvements are small, but they are noticeable. It's more comfortable out on the road thanks to those suspension tweaks. You do get a bit less motor noise. The interior tweaks, again, small, but a good quality of life improvement, such as the wireless Apple CarPlay, and it's just slightly redesigned and a bit more premium. It's still very practical up front. You've got loads of storage. You've got felt-lined door bins. I love all that stuff. It's just I'm now noticing how small it is in the back in terms of headroom, and also that floor giving you a slightly uncomfortable knee angle in the back. But for kids, it's going to be fine. It's just for tall, lanky idiots like me, it's not quite so good in the back as its rivals. Now, the game has moved on since this came out. There are things like the Skoda Enyaq, which has got more practicality in terms of boot space, but this is still a really nice package. Obviously got a 7-year warranty and all the rest of it. And if you get a basic one, 47 grand these days isn't too bad for a pretty fully featured EV. So I'm going to give it 8 Tim Roadies out of 10. It's very good. It is still very good. I just wish it was a bit roomier. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you've liked this, please hit like. Do subscribe to the channel. So I've got lots of car reviews coming up as ever once I've got round to editing them. Go down to the comments and leave me the Korean word for dirty water. See you next time.